Hello, YouTube viewer. My name is Your Chosen, or You Are Chosen, whichever you prefer. So, let's get right into it. I am going to talk a little bit about the Whittaker family. They are called the inbred family of West Virginia. That's what they're known for. I also want to discuss. A lot of people are talking about them now, and they're doing that because of a situation that happened with Eric as long as Mark. Now, if you don't know who Mark is, Mark actually was the first person. Now, I'm going to say this. Most of us from the 90s or the 80s, we all knew about this inbred family, and you didn't have to be in West Virginia to know about this family. They were the only family, I believe, in the U.S. that were known for that. And it's now only for some reason resurfacing, and who got on the story was Mark. Okay, so a lot of people think this is something new. A lot of people are saying, why wasn't this on the news? And I'll get right with that in a minute. So Mark was the first person to discover them, right? And Mark is from Underbelly, which he does documentaries about people who are on substance abuse, people who come from backgrounds of prostitution, things like that. So Mark actually started with them where he stepped in and he was trying to help them. Something happened, I guess, with money wise, and Mark kind of got out of that situation. And a guy named Eric Carroll, I believe that's his name. I just know his name's Eric. Eric, I forgot his last name. He actually stepped in. I've seen some of his videos as well. He stepped in and he was trying to help them, especially Timmy. So within his family here at the picture, you see Lorraine is on the left side. You see Timmy is also on the left side, and that's his mom. You see BJ in the middle. You see Ray on the right side, and you see, I think that is Larry. So we're going to get into this as well with them, okay? Um, I want to say Larry is more of brains than maybe the rest of them. A little bit of BJ. I mean, not BJ, sorry. A little bit of Betty. BJ is not in the middle. I'm sorry. Her name is Betty. So excuse me. I meant to say Betty if I did say BJ. Now, a lot of people know about BJ as well, okay? But BJ is not in this photo because BJ isn't family from what I gather. So Betty, who's in the middle, she took care of them when her mother passed. When their mother passed, Betty stepped in and she took care of the household. Okay, that's her family. She was a back was her family's like stone. She did the best thing she could. She's been taking care of them. She wasn't in a relationship. She hasn't dated, hasn't had any boyfriends from my knowledge. She really lived for her family. And that's the story that I think a lot of people are feeling sorry for. The fact that Betty didn't get a chance to live her life because she was too busy trying to uphold her family, be the backbone to that family. But the question remains, did Betty do a good job at it? Eventually after a while, homes become wear and tear, okay? The cost of to get it repaired depends on the severity. And when we did get a little glimpse inside the home needed a lot of work. Okay, it didn't need new TVs. It didn't need new furniture. It needed to be cleaned out, gutted out, and fixed properly so that it can be redeemed livable. And the situation that people need to understand is that although Betty did her best and she's older, she also, in her mind, might have been a little bit capable than the rest. Okay? And Larry too. And the thing what people are not understanding is they say, well, why did Eric call? Why did he call the states to get them? Listen, understand, Betty is getting Social Security. Betty is getting public assistance. Betty is getting all the helps for her family. Where is the money going to that could not solidify and help that family out financially? She was getting money for them. Social Security for each and last one of them, maybe including herself. Why wasn't that money been put to use? Why wasn't it put into the household? Why did Mark even had to come there to help as much as he did and give money as many times as he did? And how come, right? Eric had to do the same thing. And I'm going to get to my theories with that in just a moment. I want to talk about another person here um, that is very, you know, she's very important with this dynamic in a sense of she might have been the reason why this even happened, this whole mess happened in the first place. So BJ, from what I get through the comment section of other videos, now I can be wrong, and guys, you can correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong about that. But I heard that Larry is not BJ's blood daughter. That Larry it's only his daughter and stepdaughter, through a marriage that he was in when he was married to his ex-wife. I think his ex-wife passed away or something like that, or they separated. But from what I gathered, that is not his real daughter. Also, allegedly, they're saying that BJ might have been essayed. I believe that. Because why is she still around? And why is he feeling like he has to give her money every time she come around? And why is she constantly on substance? Here's the thing. Eric said it himself that he used to be on substance. He was a substance abuser. And he is sober. So he understands that giving people money who are using is not going to help the situation. I also want to point out Mark also. Okay? Mark is does documentaries on these things, on people who are substance abuse. And if you don't know your research, don't understand what happens, people who are like that, when it comes down to money, can they be trusted? If they are not clean, if they have not changed their lives. He gave these people the money expecting that they would do right by it and entrusted them. But I feel somewhere in my mind, I can't help but think that Mark knew that situation was going to happen. He gave them the money out of sight, out of mind. Okay? The difference in why people like Eric, and we're not taking the fact that Mark did what he did, gave them more popularity than they already had. But I'm telling you that people knew about them from the 80s and the 90s. Okay? We knew about them. I was young when I heard about this family. So people knew about them, and I don't live in that state. So people knew about them from since then. Mark just brought it to surface again, okay? To those who didn't know who they were, to his platform, to get more revenue, to get more known. And possibly maybe because he really wanted to help them. I have no doubt in my mind. But Mark I think he lives in California, right? So he's he's far away in a whole other state than they are, okay? So he entrusted them and they were lying. As a grown man who's not neurodivergent, he should have known that giving them that type of money and expecting them to do right by it would be dumb, okay? Eric steps in and Eric helps a little bit more. Eric's approach is more financial and emotional. So that's and he really cared. And what people don't understand is that Eric called adult services because of the conditioning of the home, and he tried his best. Imagine if you know something and you see something that's wrong, but you go back home to your nice little life, right? Your comfortable life, your nice house, your clean home, And you can only see Timmy and only see Lorraine and only see these people but once every month or twice a month. But when you go back home, you know that your place is far more better than theirs. And they're unable to take care of themselves to do better, nor do some of them know better unless they're out of that situation. I think Eric did his best. He saw what was going on and he tried to take Timmy out of that environment best as he can. But you have to understand that he cannot get custody of Timmy. He would have to go through all the laws and logistics of having to do that. And that's a lot when you have a life of your own. I think he did the right thing. He saw something that was fucked up and he did something about it. And I give him praise for that because that's more than what we have done. All most of us have done was judge Eric's decision making. And we say, well, maybe they should have stayed like that. They would have been together. But at some point, right, when do you say eventually they would have probably passed because of septic? They would have passed from something. So I want to get back to the very beginning of what I said about the money. And a lot of people were saying, how come this is not on the news? Well, it becomes political. And this is why Mark, he got out of Dodge. Okay? Because he knew something was up. And he said, pew, I can but go further than that. It's more to the story than he could even probably even imagined. So Mark got out of Dodge, okay? And he's like, this is just beyond what he thought. It's more than what he thought it would be. Um, politic wise, isn't Trump trying to eliminate certain benefits from the red states? And don't get me wrong, I could be mistaken, but isn't West Virginia considered a red state? I mean, I don't know. I'm not into politics, but I'm saying, okay? So this is why it's not on the news. Because they don't want to shine light that there are people like that who are getting over on the system. Let's be real, and that's the truth. Betty is getting Social Security on them. Now, guess what? Guess who gets it? The state gets it. That money that they were getting no longer belongs to them. It belongs to the state. And she was giving it to Patrick. She was giving it to Larry, and she was giving it to BJ. So no one has it. The state has them where they need to be. Where we know that once they're in institutions like that and institutionalized, not all of the time it goes right. But we can only hope and pray for their well-being, that it does, that they are fed, that they are clothed, that they are thriving and prospering in that environment more than they were when they had a roof over their head that was barely a roof. Okay? That was barely even a home. Why wasn't the money going into the home? Why wasn't it going for clothing and stuff? If Betty could barely take care of herself, there's no way she had the capacity to take care of adults who had a disability like that. So they're collecting all this money and it's going where? To rugs? Where is it going to? You know, Patrick did a lot of disrespecting Eric by trashing a room, by just that, and that was a sign of disrespect. That was a sign of like almost like I don't care what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter how nice and kind you are, I'm gonna do this to you. You know what I'm saying? It's like definitely a spit to the face to his kindness. And he did what he needed to do because that you got to stop it somewhere. We got to break certain chains and certain habits. And I think Eric did the right thing by stepping in and saying something when he saw something was wrong. Because eventually, if something happens to them, or they get septic, or they get sick, then he would feel bad. Some people don't like to have that on their conscience. It's not about separating them. It's not about taking them away from their families, from their loved ones, or even wanting them to be hurt. It's about protecting them and seeing that they are not sheltered the right way. And if Eric can't do it, if he doesn't really got the means to do it financially, especially if he has kids of his own, then he's going to let the state do it. So the money that's supposed to have went to them wasn't. And then here you see Eric and Mark stepping in and giving them more money. There are people who are on fixed incomes, and they are living far better than the Whittakers. And the Whittakers were getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there are people who are on fixed incomes, living in apartments, living better than that, or making ends meet is what I mean. Not better, but making ends meet, doing the best that they can. You know what I'm saying? And for Betty to be getting hundreds of thousands of Social Security off of public assistance, and off of Mark and Eric's money, wherever it came from, and also Cash Apps and PayPal and all that stuff from the side, and they still weren't even able to do the, you know, take care of the small stuff like get a proper bed, or get someone to clean the bathroom, or get a home attendant. It shows a lack of or the lack of responsibility on their end. And when a restraining order was placed on BJ, why did Betty call, sneakily go in the back while Eric was there and call to revoke the restraining order? That was very messy. And rather everything was done because Larry told her to, in the face of someone, I mean, you cannot lie. You can't say one story the next and then the next tell another to someone else. It's just very messy, and he didn't know who to believe, and he did what he could do that no one was gonna do. Let's be real. We can't, if we were never in that situation, how can we tell him what he should have did or done? The right thing would report it. If you see something that you know deep down is out of your control, because if something happens to them while you were even around, you would have that on your conscience every day and every night. Every day and every night when he sleeps well, when he goes to bed, he sleeps well, knowing that they are out of that conditioning. They are out of that house. No, they're not together, all of them. But he knows that they're not there in that situation anymore. You know what I mean? And a lot of people say, well, how would they, and I have to answer to that, like, how would they know what was best for them if they're in that living conditioning? We saw how much Timmy was thriving with Eric. We cannot lie about that. Timmy was doing really good, speaking good, learning how to clean his sneakers, learning how to take care of himself, learning what foods he liked and didn't like, what shows he liked watching, what he didn't like, learning how to read bedtime stories, learning how to clean up, how to take care of himself, how to manage. He was thriving. And it shows you that if you are in a clean, nice, well-kept environment, people like that are capable of thriving. But if you're in an environment that where they were living in, you fail to thrive. You fail to communicate. And he showed that to us. So I hope that we can only hope and pray that they are in a better situation. I do feel bad that they are separated. Don't get me wrong. But I like to think that they are far better in a situation that can handle their care, take care of them, and don't have to worry financially ever. You know what I'm saying? There's someone that can change them if they need to be changed. If they're in pain, someone to give them medication for the pain that can see their every need every day. Something that Betty and Larry weren't doing. I wish them for the best. I think that people are taking this opportunity to talk about it, not just only because they're getting views or revenue, but to share their opinion. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Well, that's my time. So thanks, guys, for listening to my little opinion of this beautiful Whittaker family.